the traveling merchant, the town merchant, and the bard. Once upon a time, there lived three men, a traveling merchant, a town merchant, and a bard. All three came from the same family, and all three had similar traits. The traveling merchant was the oldest, and his two cousins, the town merchant and the bard, were twins. They were all merry men who happily lived their lives with fullness and vitality. All three were singers as well, and they used their gifts of music to entertain the people. The traveling merchant traveled to many lands, on caravans, on ships, through small towns and villages, great cities and castles. He loved to learn of new cultures as he traded, and would bring back what he learned to his cousins. The town merchant traveled as well, though not as much. He was usually found in town squares, selling merch he gathered from other towns and rare items from the traveling merchant. The bard usually accompanied his twin, the town merchant, entertaining crowds with songs of wisdom, riddles, and rhymes. As much as they enjoyed life, none of them were married. None had found a true love of their life to bring completeness and start a family. One day, a noble came to town. He wanted to buy jewelry for his three daughters, for they were coming of age, and he prided himself as having the most beautiful daughters in the land. He first visited the town merchant, for his shop was in the center of the town. "Greetings, sir," said the noble. "I have three wonderful daughters whom I want to honor, for they are coming of age, and I want to give them jewelry. What do you have to please my daughters?" Before the town merchant could answer, the bard chimed in. "Sir, if I may, you look as if you come from wealth, and great wealth. My brothers sell jewels and jewelry, yes. However, their collections are modest, and might not meet the standards of a person of your class. Might I interest you in something else to please your daughters?" "Something else?" replied the noble. "What do you suggest?" "Well," said the bard, "jewels and jewelry are beautiful. However, songs can capture the heart. How about we write 3 songs, one for each of your daughters? Each song will honor one daughter and be written exclusively for her. And each song can only be sung by one of us, me, my twin, or my cousin." "Why would I buy them songs?" "Well," replied the bard, "if you buy them jewelry, these riches might attract their eye. However, it might also attract their appetite for wealth and spoil their hearts. Every man who seeks their hand will first have to buy them a greater jewelry than the ones you gave them. And you, being a wealthy man, who in this land can compete with your wealth? If you teach your daughters to cherish gold, they will value gold first, and that will be their love. No man will please them without increasingly more gold. However, songs capture the heart. If you teach your daughters love, then they will cherish love first, and their relationships will be long-lasting and fulfilling beyond anything you can buy." Said the noble. "I want my daughters to be happy. I want them to find love that lasts and build a family. I have noticed lots of broken relationships, divorces, and bitterness amongst the daughters of my peers. Could it be they fell in love with gold first and not their mates? You might have a point. However, do not trick me. If you, your brother, or your cousin are the ones writing the songs and singing them, are you not trying to gain my daughter's hands, that they would fall in love with you?" "We will not trick you," answered the bard. "None of us are married. And if fate should have it that our songs capture the hearts of your daughters, then whom should stand in the way of love?" "I see," said the nobleman. Well then, I will make you a deal. I will purchase your songs, and if they bring my daughters happiness, I will offer my daughters to wed you in marriage. However, if my daughters are not pleased by your songs, I will use my wealth and power to bring ruin to your businesses and run you out of town. Do we have a deal?" So the bard, the town merchant, and the traveling merchant got together and agreed to make the deal with the noble. "You have 3 weeks," said the noble. "Come to my villa in your best dress and perform your songs for my daughters. If they like them and find you favorable, I will send out invitations to all my friends and neighbors for 3 weddings." The first to write a song was the bard, for this was his idea. In secrecy, he learned of one of the daughters attending private dance lessons and visited the school at noon. In secrecy, he watched the daughter dance and twirl. He spoke to her peers and teacher about her likes and preferences. He followed her to the beach and watched her dance by the sea. He wrote and practiced a song tailored just for her. The second to write a song was the town merchant. In secrecy, he learned of a second daughter painting in an art class and visited her gallery to observe her work. In secrecy, he learned of her love for birds and flowers and how she wore flowers in her hair. He learned she liked swans the most because of their grace. Then he wrote and practiced his song he tailored just for her. The final one to write a song was the traveling merchant. In secrecy, he learned she loved knitting and creating garments and crafts. She would wear her creations all around town and gain compliments and commissions. He discovered her love for children and how she dreamed of teaching one day and helping the poor. Then he wrote and practiced a song he tailored just for her. 3 weeks passed, and the noble contacted the 3 men. He paid each one a bag of gold for their songs, with a note pertaining to their agreement that each had to sign. As a surprise, the noble decided to blindfold his daughters and take each one into a separate room. There, he told the bard, the town merchant, and the traveling merchant to enter the room of their daughter they wrote a song for and perform it. The first to perform was the traveling merchant. He entered a room with a large balcony and stood by it and performed his song. "What a lovely song," replied the daughter. "Who's singing it? Might I know your name?" So the traveling merchant took off the daughter's blindfold, introduced himself, and kissed her hand, and the first daughter fell in love. The second to perform was the town merchant. He entered a room next to a large garden and stood by it and performed his song. "What a lovely song," replied the daughter. "Who's singing it? Might I know your name?" So the town merchant took off the daughter's blindfold, introduced himself, and kissed her hand, and the daughter fell in love. The third to perform was the bard. He entered a room with great columns and stood by them and performed his song. "What a lovely song," replied the daughter. "Who's singing it? Might I know your name?" So the bard took off the daughter's blindfold, introduced himself, and kissed her hand, and the daughter fell in love. The noble was elated. All 3 of his daughters had fallen deep in love from their personal song, and each couple agreed to marry. This made the noble so happy that he doubled the pay of the men. Then the noble invited guests from all around to attend the 3 different weddings. This is how the bard was married, the town merchant was married, and the traveling merchant was married. And all three couples remain married with families to this day. The end.